For the whole of August, Texx Talks is celebrating Women's Month with our good friends Tom's, the only music store. Tom's have generously given us the M Audio Vocal Studio Pro Kit to give away in the month of August. I'm actually using it to record this right now. The kit includes studio quality headphones and a condenser microphone that all plugs into their signature USB audio interface. Perfect for getting studio quality audio right at home. We want you, the listener, to nominate an exceptional lady that you think would benefit the most from this opportunity. Simply head over to our pinned post on social channels and tag the woman who you think deserves this gift. And make sure you follow Texx Talks for all our exciting Women's Month episodes. That's Texx with a double X. Also, if you're thinking about picking up an instrument for the first time, or you're looking to upgrade, just head on over to any one of the several Tom stores around the country where their epic staff are ready and waiting to say, how's it? Hello and welcome to Texx Talks. I am Texx, and today I am talking to a DJ and producer who has gained both local and international acclaim for his pioneering style of Afro-house. Over the last 14 years, this KwaZulu-Natal-born creative has cemented his distinct brand of rhythmic house, infused with traditional sounds and rich melodies, and has played stages from Barcelona to Bloemfontein, all while maintaining his distinct South African flair. I am, of course, talking about Culoe De Song, better known to us as Culoe De Song. Culoe, welcome. Thank you for joining me. How has lockdown been treating you?
Wow, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Lockdown has been a nightmare. And I feel like I've just been woken up from a bad dream just talking to you guys. So I feel like I'm engaging with the public again. I don't do that a lot lately. So it's nice to be involved and chat with some people in other parts of the world, see what's going on. But yeah, we're all is well in our life except for the Joburg cold. It's very, very cold.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's the worst, right?
My body is so used to moving around the summer around this time. So we're getting back to that way of life again. Just embracing the South African winters and just hoping for another good summer this year.
I mean, you say that like you should be moving around now, and I'm pretty sure like you'd probably be in Ibiza, on the party scene, but you also seem to like be one of the busiest DJs during lockdown. Like you did a lockdown house party on Channel O,
yep.
and you did a BET Jams home session, which was different because people got to see inside your like very dope apartment setting.
Yeah.
How different is doing a set like that, or even a pre-recorded one? Like, do you find it difficult to get into a groove like you would a live show?
Yeah, I mean, in a live show, there is that interaction of energies with the crowd, and that is something you don't have at home, like in your own space, But I mean, what you do have at home is limitless comfort, So you can, just basically do whatever you want creatively. Treat it as an experiment, you even find your old CD bag right there by the corner and you play some old music, so you get to explore and just go on your own little journey of collections. And it's nice, when you're playing and you're thirsty, instead of, asking for a waiter or waitress to get you a drink, you just sort of like hop onto the fridge and get something nice to drink, and so like you can quench your thirst easily. You can probably cook up a storm while you're playing. You can get creative when you doing a live stream at home. I mean, people do it differently. For me, I don't take it way too seriously. I just find a nice spot that I usually sit in anyway, even if I'm not doing anything at home. That's like my favorite spot. That's where I sit and watch some sort of entertainment or do some work on my laptop. So it's it's interesting, to just play music, from your comfort zone.
So now let's take it back and let's take you out of your home comfort zone, right? And go back a few years to like 2006.
Sure.
Where you're living in Durban and you're making beats at your cousin's house. And this is also around about the same time that you meet Black Coffee and you're sending him your music and he's including it in some of his sets.
Yeah.
How did that relationship between the two of you form? Like, did you meet him somewhere else, or like, did you hit him up on social media?
So yeah, this is about 2006, 2007. I had a friend of mine who I met when I moved into this building in South Beach in Durban, where I started staying with my cousins. So downstairs, through coincidence or fate, I don't know what you want to call it, I met a man by the name of DJ Kabila, who was like an old school or childhood friend of Black Coffee. And Black Coffee was working on his album at the time. I think it was Have Another One, his second album, which came out in about 2007, 2008, 2007. Yeah. So, and I met Kabila. He sort of like taught me how to play with his records. And I used to carry his vinyl bag in the clubs. I was underage, moving around the scene. So I had early training through that sort of thing. And so I mean that's basically how I was introduced to Black Coffee.
And then he starts including like your music in his sets, and then more and more people start taking notice, and they're going like, "Yo, that one track in Coffee set was so hot," and now people are like starting to look for your tunes.
Yeah,
was that essentially how you began to grow an audience?
Definitely, it was one of the ways. I think let me just say that's how my music moved around. Through DJs. Who were very very keen to get like exclusive music unreleased, and so I met a lot of guys through DJ Kabila and Black Coffee, I think that's how my name and brand was sort of like built amongst people of the scene at the time, even overseas actually. I was very much active on platforms like MySpace.
MySpace, remember that?
Yeah, MySpace. There was no SoundCloud and stuff then. If I come to think about it, I spent a lot of time on MySpace, networking with other independent artists from overseas, exchanging music and sounds and conversations and things like that. So that there was also another way that got me out there. And obviously in 2008 I applied for the Red Bull Music Academy, which was in Barcelona.
Of course.
In Barcelona at the time. So when I was accepted for that, which was great, that was my first international trip out of the country. So I met other people that side who were like, "Yo, Innovisions, would really love your stuff." It's everybody said Dixon, when they had my music, So eventually, my music got to the hands of people like Dixon. And it was just like a word of mouth. I think it was a word of mouth thing. It's the rest is history, I suppose.
You mentioned the Red Bull Music Academy in Barcelona,
yeah.
and that. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you, at the time, you were one of the youngest participants in the Academy's history,
yes,
which is an incredible feat.
Yes.
That's like that's pretty. I take my hat off to you. That's pretty incredible. And like you said, it's your first time out of the country, first time in Europe. So you arrive there and you're surrounded by like all of these incredible artists who are equally as hungry as you are, and you have access to the best gear and studios and technicians.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that, like, for any artist, let alone a young artist who's up and coming, it's exciting, but it's also like mad overwhelming.
Yeah.
So how did you get the most out of that experience?
Well, first of all, it was an eye-opener. I think it's important that I mention that, because I think it was one of those paradigm-shifting moments of my life. Because when I met other passionate creatives from around the world, it changed me in a lot of ways. This Barcelona RPMA just became this like fantastic experience, with a little bit of universal humor there and there. Because when I arrived in Spain, I lost my passport. Before I could even enter the country. So I think I lost my passport inside the plane, and so we had to spend like 4 hours, just looking for it. And
they were like, "Turn the plane around. We're going back to South Africa. Sorry, this dude like."
yeah. It was, there was a lot of first times. There was a lot of that first time anxiety. You're losing your passport. You don't even know if you're gonna get in, and da da da. So I mean, obviously, the ice was broken through that experience as well. Because you got to experience the system of another country. For such and yeah, I mean, I got in, and I met a lot of incredible people. At the time, I think I didn't even know that some of the biggest and best music came from countries like Japan. And yeah, I met artists that were playing this very uplifting fusion and jazz from Japan. I remember just being amazed by how much these guys share commonalities with people like myself coming from the other side of the globe. So for me, the whole experience was just like an eye opener. You go into one studio, something is happening. You go into another, something is happening. You go back to the hotel, some are sleeping, some are jet lagged. So we just had all these experiences that I just never had before. I had drank too much Red Bull. I think I got sick from doing that overindulgence. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of excitement, around the experience, and also just DJing overseas for the first time through the program shows, that were organized for the alumni. And yeah, just DJing in a different club, different setting where people, don't really know what you are. Or what do you do and where you from, and but they do have a very keen sense of listening, to something new and receiving and understanding it. So it was such a great platform, where you are just appreciated, for who you are, and that's what got you there in the first place. That biblical application of theirs, really makes you dig deep, into your creative consciousness, So it was such an eye-opening experience.
Are there people that you met and formed connections with, potentially even made music with, that you still are in contact with today?
Yeah. In different ways. I mean, one of a favorite actually in my following, there's a tune called "The Dragon's End," featuring a lady from London by the name of Fatima. This was through the RPMA Barcelona. Yeah, we had the exposure. We were exposed to all the recording facilities, etc. So I just started making beats, and called in Fatima. She wrote some lyrics, and she jumped on the mic, and we recorded, and I ended up releasing that tune on my debut album.
On a Giant Leap.
On a Giant Leap, yes. And Thibaut Taz, who was my fellow South African alumni, I'm still in touch with him till today. He's down in Cape Town, so I established a lot of good relationships. I met guys like Gert Janssen from Germany. For the first time over there. I mean, he had been in the scene for a long time and worked with people like Dixon and Innovisions for the longest time. He was actually one of the guys that were really pushing forward for my potential release with the label at the time. And Italians.
We like Italians. I'm Italian.
I did this one. This one is very interesting because the Italians that I had seen on television were way different, than
they eat their pasta.
Yeah. I had seen the Italian mafia style from the American movies, but I met very warm-hearted guys like Marco Passarani, who I believe actually was the link to a gentleman by the name of Andrea, who was going to be my first European agent actually at the time. So I think for the next 2 years after that, I remember doing a lot of gigs in Italy. So that's where I started my bond with the Italian family and Europe at large. Actually, I mean, Italy is a very important part of electronic music if you look at the numbers and the crowds. So it's it was actually the beginning of my touring journey. So that's why I sort of like emphasized on the Italians part, because I feel like I've got a bit of a story when it comes to Italy and the scene and the culture and all that. Yeah,
the Italians welcomed you with open arms and open hearts and an open kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm sure they tried to feed you.
it wasn't just pizza and they eat a lot as well. And by the way,
yes,
so we shared those commonalities because I'm a Zulu guy. Where I come from, we overindulge, in meat and all nice things in life. So I think we shared some interesting cultural commonalities, So, but yeah, it was the beginning of a nice journey moving forward.
So after the Red Bull Music Academy in Barcelona, you come back to South Africa and you essentially come out of the park swinging with your first album that we touched on a while ago, A Giant Leap, in 2009. And it's nominated for SAMAs and Metros, and it was like a giant commercial success, but also a critical success for you. And when that kind of success finds you, do you think that you can ever be ready for it, or do you just go with the flow?
I don't think you are ever prepared for such a thing, unless it's done like how the monks do it, where the child will be taught from early on what the journey moving forward is going to be. With me, though, I think it's always been in my heart, that little belief that I'm going to be in music, because I just had this interesting attachment to my name, Culoe, which means our song. So, I mean, it was sort of like a light notion, in the house or at home in the family, that the future might look like this, So I've always had it at the back of my head, that I might be involved in music somewhere, somehow, So, but I think it was actually a blessing, because I believe that experience is the best teacher, especially when it comes to music, with things that involve the intangible. You're dealing with people's emotions. So it's something that I believe you gotta tackle it from the ground and really understand what it's about. And it actually took me about 10 years to understand, that music is actually like a people's phenomenon. It wasn't just about me making generating records, from a computer system and putting them out for people to enjoy or whatever, to consume. But it's literally, you developing a relationship, with your followers, with the people that are exposed to your music, even if it's for 2 minutes, or online, or an hour or 2 hours at a show. There was a large interaction of energies, and I think it's a live experience thing, So it's definitely something you can really fully understand what it's about, when you are in the game, when you're meeting the different promoters, when you are taking the different flights, when you are losing your headphones on the way, losing your music, and losing your passports, like such things. Those are the things that build you, so I'm very grateful, to have started this experience very early.
One of my favorite singles of yours is Rambo, because it's very distinct.
Thank you.
And I know that it was inspired by like video games that you played when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But I recently learned that apart from like creating the song, obviously, you also wrote a small story and a treatment for the animated music video, which I had no idea. And that music video is so dope. But like, am I right in saying that whole project was quite like close to your heart, like from obviously the construction of the song to then the music video to putting it out?
Yeah, I think the whole world of motion picture and stories is something that is pretty much close to my heart. And I did play a lot of video games. My favorite game of all time is Mortal Kombat.
Oh wow!
Yeah. The more brutal, the more you get my attention when it comes to video games, because I just love that action spirit, that adventure spirit, and I think things like that have sort of like influenced my music in one way or the other, and.
But that's cool, because I can actually see, like, now that you mentioned Mortal Kombat and that like sort of more action-driven side of games, that's kind of like what the animated music video, that's kind of like what the aesthetic is, because it's this lion who's like on this journey, and it's like quite in your face and quite cool.
A lot of people are not aware of this, because it's not something I usually speak about out there. That I'm a big follower of the Zodiac as well, and I learn a lot about some of the things that I sort of like see about myself, through sort of things. So with the lion thing, me being a Leo, the August Leo, apparently we are the more aggressive Leos. So I felt like I needed to add that element to my music, so and Rambo was a fun project in so many ways, because I was going for something that first of all was very fun to me, and I had made it for someone else, like years ago before that, because it never sounded like anything I play, when I go to gigs. Or what I'm known for, so it was me exploring the depths of my creative reservoirs, it also speaks to the dancehall reggaeton side of me as well. I'm a very big fan of what the creatives in Jamaica are doing. And in places like the UK as well, where the sound, becomes more fat and substantial and aggressive. So it was supposed to be very playful as well. I wouldn't even. Sometimes people, they're like, "What do you call it? Is it a song or a track?" I'm just like, man, Rambo is just a sonic experience.
It really is, though.
It's a sonic experience. That's all it is, because I've seen videos, of people playing it in different kinds of shows. Not just the type of shows that we play, where it's just constant dance music. That with the 4/4 beat, all the way, all night. I've seen it being played in like hip hop spaces, in dance hall gigs, especially in the UK, more unlike these, what do they call this new sound in the UK? Like the Skeptors and all those.
Grime.
The grime, yeah, like more in the grime scene. I've seen a lot of like grime guys like tag me.
Oh, really? That's so dope.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they do like these immediate club freestyles, over beats that a DJ will play. I've seen a lot of that as well, and because obviously people would Shazam the track and it will show them the original artist. But yeah, I've seen it being used in different spaces, and I'm so happy to see that, because there was a whole point. I think I've always been about that limitless vision when it comes to sound. So I'm happy that it went as far as that.
When you first started, you were signed. Well, you eventually signed to Black Coffee's solistic label, but your last release was independent.
Yeah.
And I know that you've also released a few tracks on Innovisions, which is the electronic music label based out of Germany. Why the decision to go back to DIY and to go back to doing things yourself?
I think it's more about self-growth, control, creative control, and also time. When you work with your own time, with your own pace, I think something else happens to you, in your creative consciousness. So I think it was just a matter of me getting a little bit of that liberty and freedom, and to learn more and to grow. Understanding a couple of aspects, of the business, understanding modern principles versus past principles, and also, just find what really vibes with you, not be in a space where you're looking for creative advice from somewhere else most of the time. When you're signed, you get a lot of different inputs from different departments, of the label, and sometimes you'll have a product which is beautiful and great, but it's not necessarily something that sits fully in your heart. And I think the DIY world, you sort of like easily, achieve that, and you are also not in a rush, for any sort of validation, especially when it comes to creativity, man. Because I've seen people saying, "Yo, we love your new music," and da da da, and I'm just like, wow, if these people knew that I created it like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and I just started finishing it now, and that sort of pace is something that speaks to me and who I am. So you might find in some cases, you could have used that beat abruptly or not in a sound way, and give it to someone else who wouldn't have received it with the same energy. You might find that 4 years later, the right person or the right, I don't know, instrumentalist or vocalist to collaborate with on this tune has just surfaced, and then you adding new energy, to the music, but maybe that's just me overthinking it, but I think that's just how it works. Everything has its time.
So am I right in saying that now you are quite involved in the business aspect of your career, but also you have more control over the music that you're putting out and over the type of beats that you're making?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about DJing in the French Alps, because I know it happened a while ago, but I remember your post on Instagram like so clearly because your caption was like mad inspirational. How you have to tell me how you get booked to play on like one of the world's most beautiful mountain ranges. Like, how did that gig come about?
I think it was a festival. It was one of the festivals. There was a couple of those kind of like winter festivals that happen in the Alps. First of all, man, let me just say it was a mind-blowing experience. To DJ, that high, from the ground.
Because the picture was just you with the decks and then the mountain range in the back. And it's like, oh my God, like, where is he standing? Is he going to fall? Is he taking care of himself?
I think you actually just sparked something in me. I need to go back to those guys and ask them to give me some of the footage from the show, because it was so amazing, man. First of all, it was ridiculously cold. But that was fine, but when I started playing, it was a different experience. It became warmer as we went. There were avalanches happening while I was playing at the back. Things like that I'd never experienced before. So that's why I think I wrote a caption like that. Because the experience was just beyond what I'd imagined. It was just like fantastic, thanks to our very hardworking team, the Real Tone agency, which is headed by a gentleman by the name of Lionel, who I met also back in, it was probably 2009, 2010, and someone who was also working with people like, I don't know if you remember, artists like Frank Roger, Manu, Rocco, all the French crews. He worked with DJ Gregory at some point, and Black Coffee. So he has definitely grown from that time and from those years. He was the guy that would take care of us when we used to play in places like the June in Paris. That's where he used to be based before. And then a couple of years after that, he moved to New York and just started taking his agency to the next level, adding more artists into the roster. I'm working with guys like Virgil Abloh as well. In different spaces of electronic music. And it's through minds like that, that we get the right shows, and because he's got a vision, for this music, and I think it was such a blessing, to be working with an individual like that, who will make sure, first of all, with someone you can trust, he's that guy that I trust. If he's excited about something, then I know it's a big deal and it's the real thing. So I trust his perception, on a lot of things when it comes to the scene, and he's also knowledgeable. Is very, very well inclined musically, and also just in the culture. He understands the DJ culture, the people, the parties, all the festivities around the game. So he makes sure that we navigate and grow in the scene through the right channels.
And then from the French Alps, right, to your residency in Ibiza at the Blue Marlin. Now, describe a typical day in the life of Culoe during your residency in Ibiza. Like, are you working and playing? Are you getting any sleep? Because I went to Ibiza and I can tell you that if I got 12 hours of sleep that whole week I was there, it was a lot.
There is no sleep in Ibiza. If you're going to Ibiza to sleep, I don't want to be your friend.
You're in the wrong place.
Then you're in the wrong place. I mean, it's a very vibrant space. Very, very vibrant space. I mean, most of the time when I land on the island, I'm super tired from somewhere else. Or even just from home, it's a long trip. Probably take a Joburg to Doha and Doha, Barcelona, Ibiza. So you take three flights, to get to the island on time. So you usually quite exhausted physically, that is. But as soon as you land and you engage with the people, you check in at the hotel, you join the party. All of a sudden, it's like a new you has been born right there. You just get this energy again. You are ready to roll. You are ready to party. That's how amazing the island is. It's got this like crazy energy, man, and it's good time.
I think it's very clear to me that, you embrace the moving around. You thrive with meeting new people and going to new places.
Yeah.
How are you channeling all of that energy now in lockdown?
Well, first of all, it doesn't exist right now. So
simple answer.
So it's just you gotta embrace that. You gotta embrace the new normal, so to speak. I've been hearing that term a lot lately. Um, but it's also, there is a positive side, to what is happening, because you get to quiet yourself. You get less engagement with people and the public. You listen to yourself more. You get to understand your body a little more as well. Also, you get to understand your spiritual self a little more as well. So it's good. You get to address all the things that are inside you in so many different ways. There's time to do that now, because before, it was just like an in and out situation, in and out relationship with my apartment, always moving up and down, and never really, getting the time to sit down and bond, with yourself in different in many different levels. So I think, yeah, I think it's been crazy. It's been crazy. You go a little mad every now and then, because it's your mind is not used to this sort of setting. So you gotta work with it and adjust, moving forward, and yeah, and just try to feed the fire, your passion in you, by playing your favorite music, getting involved in the live streams, talking to other people, your friends, in other countries. How are they doing? Just keeping in touch from home, it has done something special in me as well, to say that, this is what we're going through right now. But there's definitely, I can feel the energy of us reconnecting again. It may not be tomorrow, it may take some time, but we definitely got to be meeting soon again. And I think we'll be better people as well, I believe, so, we were cutting out a lot of like crazy habits that we pick up from moving around, things like drinking a lot and smoking, and all the festivities of the road, that you use to calm yourself, because the whole experience can be very overwhelming, being on a plane all the time and different time zones. So we all have, these little self-medicating ways, and yeah, and it's really hard, sometimes to sort of like meditate in different spaces, different hotels, different energies. So I find that it's much better you create that sort of space at home, and in your little comfort zone. But at the same time, for somebody who's touring all the time, the sense of home is it blurs out at some point, because you're always moving around. So you just gotta create that feeling of home everywhere you go, and I think that's like one of the biggest challenges. So right now, I'm just fully embracing the feeling of home.
But you're right. I mean, eventually we will all meet again. And hopefully
Yeah.
you and I for the first time, because we're doing this over the marvels of technology right now. We're not doing this in studio.
Yeah.
We're observing social
Yeah.
distancing, everybody. But
Yeah.
I know your last album was released quite a while ago. And I'm pretty sure that I heard definitely one, maybe two new tracks during your Channel O set. But
Okay.
what can you share? You're like, okay, maybe not. What can you share, if anything, about what you've got in the pipeline?
There is a couple. There is definitely a couple of projects that are gonna emerge in the next couple of months. I'm basically using this time to as I said, like what I was saying earlier in the previous question, to address myself as an individual, as a person. So that has brought like different energy in the studio as well. So I'm really excited, to share what's going to come out, moving forward with the people, because I think I'm in a more quiet state of mind. I remember my last album, I was even recording, in cupboards, in hotel rooms, just to get the right sound, or underneath the blankets and all that.
Sounds like me with this podcast.
Yeah, so. But I mean, which is cool, because that means you're a resourceful artist. And I learned that, from using programs like Fruity Loops back in the day, and without all this gear that I have now. I've always learned to be resourceful, make the best of whatever you have. And so right now, I think I have all the time to think and to listen. And to share, so I think it's something different. I might even surprise myself, so I think I'm looking forward to that. So there's definitely some new music, that's gonna come out in the next few months.
Well, I'll be sure to keep my eyes and ears open for anything new down the road. But I just wanted to say thank you again for being a part of season 2 of Texx Talks. I mean, your enthusiasm and your intense dedication for the music that you make and the places that you play, it's what sets you apart from your contemporaries. And I honestly can't wait. I can't wait to see what you do with the rest of the year, what the rest of 2020 holds for you and for all of us. Oh my God.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Shout out to Culoe De Song for joining us in studio. Thank you for joining us for another Texx Talks. Be sure to check out texxtalks.com for more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and listen to Texx Talks on all good streaming platforms. From myself, Texx, our producers, Jonathan Ings and Matt Lutz, and our assistant researcher and collaborator, Al Clapper. Catch y'all on the flip side.